Cool. So the session is being recorded, guys. So whoever maybe isn't in the session or is late, they will catch the upload on YouTube. So otherwise, we're going to start off with AUDCAD. So I haven't changed any of my analysis from last week. I didn't get to trade much last week because load shedding has just been like a real mess. If the load shedding is okay, then my Wi-Fi has just been a real mess. So last week I kind of didn't trade much, so most of everything just kind of is the way it was last week. So we'll just delete whatever's not relevant to this week's analysis, and then we'll just kind of explain through whatever we've got. So higher time frame, guys, everything remains the same. Higher time frames take a while to change. We've got momentum here. We've got an overall corrective structure, which is basically what we're kind of trading. We're looking at, okay, maybe this corrective structure, we'll find out that maybe momentum will break this corrective structure, hopefully coming towards the 90% rule of this overall corrective structure. That is maybe our overall higher time frame thinking. But now if we just come to just the most recent daily price action, we'll obviously see that we are at some sort of a support trend line over there. So if you guys can count first touch, second touch, we're at some sort of a third touch region over there. So coming just to the most recent daily structure there, we do understand that we were at or around some sort of a support area over there. So obviously, naturally, we were looking for bullish bias trading opportunities. Why? Because we were around an area where we expect buyers to want to involve themselves. So otherwise, let's drop down into a 4 hour, see what's been cooking there. We'll delete whatever was there from last week. Whatever's not necessary. That was not necessary. So basically last week, if we go into what we were looking at last week, what we had was, we had price action. I think it was somewhere just around here, somewhere just very close to this support here. What we were looking for was, because we had this nice descending structure, nice expanding structure. Obviously it's descending because we had price giving us lower lows and lower highs. It's cool. I'll just clear the drawings, and then how do I remove your guys' ability to draw? Cool. Just so that we keep the momentum going, guys, because it is going to disturb me as time goes on. Otherwise, we've got this nice expanding descending structure here. So we had first touch, second touch. So we're obviously naturally looking for price action to, number one, violate this low and come down and give us obviously a third touch of structure, at which, since we had a support structure there, we were looking for our reversal structures below that support, obviously bubble bottoms, inverse head and shoulders, descending, whatever gives us a reason to buy below. And then obviously, if we had failed to find any reversal structure below, what we were going to wait for was obviously momentum to push price action up back above this level of structure. And then we were going to wait for continuation. And then obviously that nice retest for continuation to the upside. Now, if we look at what actually did happen, price action, first of all, did not violate Monday morning or whenever price action opened. We didn't violate, we just reversed, we went to the top. What happened? We did not create a new higher high. We created obviously a new lower high. Price action came back down, gave us a new lower low. We did break below this low, but obviously not the kind of break that we were expecting. And as well as the time of this break, this was during Asian session. So I was sleeping this one. Let's see, around 3 in the morning. That's the time that we basically came down below. So I obviously was not watching this, and plus to my Wi-Fi and load shedding and all that stuff. So anyway, price action for me didn't really give me an entry. I don't see how I would have maybe been able to enter, maybe on this double bottom or whatever the case is. I don't know. But looking at things now, obviously we don't cry over spilled milk. We need to discuss what do we do now going forward into next week. What is the game plan? So we still are bullish on this pair because of where we are higher time frame. We've got what we want to see, which is we want to see buyers involving themselves. We've got beautiful momentum here to the upside. Yes, maybe we weren't involved in that momentum, but that doesn't mean we can't catch continuations. If price action's objective is to continue higher, then definitely it's going to breathe at some point in time. Right now, we can see that market is moving. We always wait for those corrective structures. We don't involve ourselves while the market is moving. Cool. We obviously can see that our 90% rule objective of this expanding descending structure, we've just completed that objective. We've hit the 90% rule. What we've also done is we've broken above all of the lower highs in this structure here, finally giving us a new higher high in this overall structure here, which is what we wanted. We want to see the structure changing. We want to see buyers being in control. So all we're going to be doing, very simple next week. We have momentum. We're waiting for our corrective structure. Where is price action right now? Price action is around some sort of a resistance area, which makes no sense. As much as we want to buy, it makes no sense to buy at resistance. meaning that we've got to exercise patience and obviously wait for price action to come down to some level of support. Now, naturally, what I want to do, since we've got a new higher high, we do see price action did break above this previous high there. What I want to do is I just want to observe, where do I see momentum coming into the market? Big bullish engulfing candlestick over there. Let's just edit this quickly. Give me 1 second to just remove whatever's not necessary there. Cool. We've got a nice big bullish engulfing candlestick over there. Obviously, that shows us momentum buyers coming into the market somewhere from around this area here. Naturally, if price action does correct and come back into this area, that's where I want to be a buyer. I want to buy where I see other people buying. Obviously, this is going to be a nice reduced risk entry for us because price action has finally given us a new higher high. And now that we have a new higher high and we're expecting that, okay, maybe market should be in an uptrend, we're not expecting price action to come down and want to break below this low now, because now we have a new higher high. So otherwise, our tags will still remain blue for this week. I'm still bullish on AUDCAD. Now, obviously, we have a nice reduced risk entry. So let's go on to some Aussie Swiss franc, see what's cooking there. Go up to the daily. So in between every pair, I will come and check the chats just to see if there is, or if there are relevant questions that are relevant to the analysis that maybe we can go through before we move on to the next pair. Let's go up to, okay, cool, we are on the daily. So on Aussie Swiss franc, what we chose to do is we chose to just stick to the most recent price action because that's going to give us the most relevant data, because high time frame is just an absolute mess for us. But otherwise, if we just look at the most recent structure, obviously, what I think what I did have last week, I just adjusted this structure. I remember I did adjust it, but last week we had something like this. We were looking at the higher time frame structure, the higher time frame daily structure, which kind of looks something like this, where we're obviously expecting price action to come back and give us a third touch of structure. I think we were in and around this area here, and we were expecting a break of structure, something of that nature. But nonetheless, on a smaller time frame, things will make a little bit more sense. So on a smaller time frame, obviously we had this descending structure. What we were looking for was, we were expecting that, okay, cool, we've got a first touch there, second touch there. This was the adjusted structure. We were expecting that, okay, cool, if any entry that has probabilities for us to buy, considering the fact that obviously this is a clear downtrend, price action is making lower lows and lower highs, we want to do the opposite of what we can see that's going on here. The only area that will give us the appropriate probabilities to be able to do that was if we saw price action breaking below this low and obviously giving us a reversal structure at the touch of the structure. Now, we clearly did not see that happening on Aussie Swiss franc. We see price action moving to the upside. How are we moving to the upside? Does anybody see momentum in this move to the upside? Not really, besides just this most recent 4-hour candlestick there. But otherwise, we don't really see anyone convinced at buying AUDCHF. Yes, we are moving to the upside, but not in a very convinced or convincing manner. Like, if I was expecting buyers, I don't really see buyers doing what I'm expecting them to be doing in this area here. So otherwise, yes, we want to buy naturally because we're in a descending structure, but we can see that it's not ready yet for those buys. Those buys that we're expecting, price action is not showing us that price is maybe ready for those buys yet. So what we're going to do, since last week we observed that we had extreme highs in this area here and extreme lows in this area here. Let me just zoom in so that we can focus on just the most recent price action. Since we had extreme highs and extreme lows, and obviously whenever we have extreme highs and extreme lows and we're confused about where the market is going, are we going up or are we going down? Support and resistance. We want to be buyers at support. We want to be sellers at resistance. So obviously we can see that price action has maybe broken above. So naturally, where's the safest support that we have to buy is we've got, if we want to be buyers, we've got to exercise patience for market to either come down to this support here. Another scenario that will allow us to be able to buy is if we observe our structure. Let's look left, observe a high here, wait for price action maybe to this, since we've got momentum, right? We don't want to start buying. We want these buyers to confirm that they are here. We see a nice big bearish engulfing in this area here, which means that a bunch of sellers came into the market, and whoever these sellers were, they broke this support and they broke that support. So a lot of sellers came in there. So if we want to buy at this concept, we want to do break and retest, those nice normal things of just break and retest since we see the momentum. First thing that we want to do is we want the buying momentum to confirm to us that there are buyers involved. How will we see that? If price action breaks this high, then we can look at this as a nice area of momentum shift and wait for a corrective structure to come back here where we can nicely buy. It's a nice break and retest. We've broken resistance. Resistance can turn into support. We look for a trade entry at the support for continuation to the upside. Only if price action breaks this resistance over here. If we don't break that resistance, we can't be sure that there are enough buyers in this market to give us that risk to reward ratio that we're looking for. So the only way we can get that risk to reward ratio or those probabilities is to exercise the patience and wait for price action to come down to a support where at least if we buy here, we can have stops below the support or whatever the case is and have a little bit of risk to reward ratio before price runs into a major resistance or whatever the case is. So otherwise, I am still bullish on Aussie Swiss franc because of still you guys can see that there are no big probabilities on this pair. It's not as hot as maybe AUD CAD because we've already broken structure. All we're doing is waiting for our corrective structure. So still, I'm not going to add any tag. What I usually do is whatever we're bullish on, I put a blue tag. Whatever we're bearish on next week, I put a purple tag. But whatever is not really important on the watch list, I'm going to just leave it blank so that we're not focusing on pairs next week. We're not splitting our attention and looking at things that don't have probabilities and maybe miss pairs that are maybe going to give us better trades. So otherwise, I'm bullish, but I'm not going to denote that over here. Let's go on to AJ. Go up to a daily. So on AJ, last week, what we were looking for was obviously for bearish bias momentum because we were in an ascending structure. We've got a nice first touch, second touch, third touch of our ascending structure. We see sellers in this ascending structure. Obviously, we broke the ascending structure. We obviously did note that we didn't break in an impulsive manner. We stalled over here. We even violated the ascending structure down, and then we broke back into the ascending structure. And obviously, yes, we are still bearish bias, but where were we bearish bias from? We were bearish bias from these points of interest over here. Obviously, we wanted to sell where we see other sellers selling, where there's probabilities. Yes, there was also potential for us to buy. We discussed this young buy over there, but obviously, if you guys, I told you guys that I'm not going to switch my bias. I've been waiting for sells on AJ. Price didn't give me opportunities to maybe involve myself in these moves to the downside over here, whatever the case is. But I'm not going to switch my bias last minute and all of a sudden start buying. Meantime, I've been waiting for a sell and then I missed the next momentum that's coming to the downside because I switched to a last minute bullish bias. I'm going to exercise the patience and wait for price action to come up to the POI. So obviously Friday, we can see that there was a lot of momentum on Friday on these JPY code pairs. AJ just rocked all over the place, but literally it's a doji. So we can say that Friday, price action moved nowhere, but there was a lot of volatility. Price action did come close to the 4-hour POI that we were looking at, but if we drop down onto a 4-hour, we didn't tap into, or it was a 1-hour POI. We didn't really tap into that 1-hour POI. Now, obviously, something we need to take into account the information. We're always adjusting, and we want to be reactive and accommodate for whatever new information market has given us, so that we're always making decisions, not off what we were thinking last week or whatever, but we're trying to stay up to date with whatever market is showing us, and we're actively adjusting and accommodating for market. So now, obviously, yes, maybe we can still expect to anticipate price action to maybe want to come to this POI and give us that entry that we were looking for. But since we've seen a nice big rejection, obviously we have a resistance up here. You guys can see we had extreme highs and extreme lows that we were looking at for a while. We expected price action to manipulate extreme lows and break back above to come for us up here, which is the sell that we were looking for. We weren't interested in any other moves but for this sell. We didn't get the sell, but price action has shown us that obviously we failed to break above this resistance. Yes, a lot of momentum, but price action even on a 4-hour failed to break and close above here. We can see that obviously there's someone that is willing to sell AJ somewhere in the world on a 4-hour. So now that we've got this momentum breaking back below our level of structure, what I want to do is on a 1-hour, obviously we've got a high here. I don't want to drop down on a 1-hour because I don't want to waste time. But on a 1-hour, we'll obviously have resistance over here. And this is price action breaking above a level of structure and breaking back below a level of structure. Now, naturally so, the best place for us to look for sells, the safest place, is for us to wait for price action to come back to a previous level of structure that we've broken above and broken below to retest that level of structure for our downside continuation. So I am still bearish on AJ. I'm either going to look to sell at this resistance area here, because I still want to sell as high as possible. We be smart. If I'm selling anything to you, whether it's food, whether it's whatever, if I'm selling 2 foods for 10 Rand and someone next door is selling 2 foods for 5 Rand, I'm definitely going to be richer at the end of the day than the person that's selling for 5 Rand. Same applies here in the market. And if I'm going to be a seller, I want to sell at the highest price possible. If I want to be a buyer, I want to buy at the lowest price possible. That's the way that I'm going to make the most money, get the best risk to reward ratio, or all those nice extra English that we add onto our trading processes. So otherwise, I'm going to try and sell as high as possible, which is either at this resistance or at my POI there, since we didn't really tap into the POI. In terms of trading at this area here, I'm not going to be trading here. I'm going to be looking for ourselves at this resistance. So I think on AJ, we'll put AJ purple on there because AJ looks a little bit hot now. 100%, we'll do that there. And we can delete this over here. Cool. So we bearish bias on AJ. Let's go on to some AU there. We'll go up to a daily on AU. AU came back, slapped perfectly on Friday into this POI there. But anyway, my load shedding is what it is. So on AU, basically, we also weren't looking to trade AU. We were bullish bias on AU, but obviously we had a higher time frame POI there. We can see that there's sellers, there's something happening. Obviously, sellers been selling AU, and obviously we've been wanting to buy AU because of the overall descending structure and because of this higher time frame momentum that we have there that has been able to violate whatever resistance we had inside of here. We want to trade in direction of this higher time frame momentum to the upside. So obviously we've been looking for those buyers to come into the market. So all that I've been able to do is obviously trade the smaller time frames, because on the smaller time frames, if ever we're going to be bullish buyers, or at least the trend is going to start, we're going to be breaking resistance or whatever the case is, first on a 1 minute, and then we'll break a resistance maybe on a 5 minute, and then a 1 hour, and then a 4 hour, and then a daily. So obviously the trends are going to start changing on a smaller time frame before they start changing on a higher time frame. So looking at this overall structure here, I think this was on Tuesday. Yeah, I think it was on Tuesday that I drew this POI here, or whenever. I don't remember when, but nonetheless, we had broken resistance. So obviously we created a new high above these resistance areas that validated POIs inside of this impulse here, because obviously this looks like a corrective structure. This looks like momentum. We did violate. It is a new higher high. Obviously we understand the nature of this higher high, that it's a rejection, but nonetheless we did create a new higher high, and obviously that validated this POI up down here. So nonetheless, same thing, I guess. The structure looks very similar to AUDCAD in a sense that we've just broken our resistance. And all we can do to be as safe as possible is to trade at areas of support. Where are we right now? We're at some sort of a resistance. If we want to trade a break and a retest of this resistance, we need to see price action moving away from this resistance area, maybe hopefully even breaking some resistance, or at least something first before we trade a break and a retest. Otherwise, since price action has just violated this resistance area, the safest thing for us to do would then be maybe for us to delete this last week's POI, and now we have a nice, beautiful bullish engulfing candlestick. Obviously, where did buyers come in? They came in somewhere at this bullish engulfing candlestick, and whoever they were able to break this resistance area over there. So naturally, where do I want to trade? If price comes back here and those people are still at their PCs watching, maybe they're going to still see value in between these prices here to add their buys, and they're probably going to send prices up. So I want to buy where? At previous support that I see, because I can't trade this break and a retest yet, because price hasn't moved far enough away from this break and a retest so that I'm not caught in some sort of a manipulation or whatever the case is. I want to see price action move away far enough, at least first. So otherwise, in AU, we are still bullish. I think on AU, I'm still not really interested in buying AU as yet. Just because I think my reasons are kind of maybe just personal, not technical analysis. Technical analysis maybe would still give me an entry price action came down here, but maybe it's just a personal reason. A lot of nonsense going on with the dollar and whatever the case is now. So I'm just gonna wait for. I don't need to trade AU to be profitable. I can trade whatever else has better probabilities based off my technical analysis. So I think I'm still gonna just stay out of AU, but I am bullish on AU. Let's go on to some SUSIAN. So SUSIAN, last week we were waiting for a nice tap into this bearish POI there. So let's just go up to a daily just so that we can explain what the high time frame structure looks like. So high time frame structure, obviously JPY code pair, they all kind of look the same in a sense that we had this ascending structure, first touch, second touch. Here we didn't maybe get a third touch, but whatever. We came up, gave some sort of a double top structure. Obviously, what we were looking for was we wanted to see sellers involving themselves. We see a lot of selling momentum. And after we see that selling momentum on a 4-hour, maybe things become a little bit more clear. We obviously see a corrective structure. So we were looking at 2 POIs, I think from week before last, for 2 weeks, we were looking for this sell buy setup. I think our first POI was somewhere inside of here, just above this resistance. And then obviously we had our overall high time frame setup, which we had our new resistance and our higher time frame POI up there. So obviously we can see price action, maybe our objective was to come for this higher time frame POI up there. We've got obviously some sell bias momentum. What we can do for ourselves is just delete this over here. Since we've already tapped into this area, are we expecting that maybe price action is going to come back there? Maybe not. But what we can see is that we've got a new bunch of sellers coming into the market that have been able to break some sort of a support or whatever the case is. So we can obviously isolate where did they come in from. They came in from somewhere around this resistance area here. So what I want to do is, since where am I right now? I want to be a seller. I'm at a support, break and a retest, previous resistance that was broken that can function as support. So can I sell anywhere in this area? No. I have to wait for price action to come to some sort of a resistance. I have a previous support that was broken that can function as resistance. So naturally, where do I want to trade? I want to trade somewhere up high. If I want to be a seller, I want to sell at the most expensive price that I can possibly sell. And remember that everything is relative. That if these are the biggest amount of sellers that are ever going to come in and maybe price action is never ever going to break above here, where do I want to sell to get the best price if this is the only price region that I have to work with? I want to sell probably somewhere above halfway. Anywhere inside of here is maybe a nice region for me to want to be a seller. Otherwise, let's move on. So Susian, I am still bearish bias. I think we'll keep this tag on there. It does look like a pair. Obviously next week, since we have momentum, all we're doing is focusing on, do we form a corrective structure? Once we can identify that first touch, second touch, third touch that hopefully terminates somewhere inside of our POI, that just makes things so much more simple. We avoided entering unnecessary sells here. We waited, exercised patience, waited for a trade that has better probability, better risk to reward ratio. Maybe before price action comes down to the support, we'll have enough RR to manage the trade and to do whatever. So otherwise, Susian, bearish bias from that POI. Let's go on to New Zealand dollar CAD. So New Zealand dollar CAD, I think we were nice and bullish bias. So I think let's just look at the 4 hour because I know this didn't get triggered. So we were bullish bias, everything. Okay, let's just explain everything from high time frame because it doesn't even change. Even this week, I'm waiting for the exact same setup as last week. So last week, basically what we observed was we had this overall descending structure, right? So we're looking at the most recent structure because it has the most relevant data for us to make a decision. So descending structure, obviously, where are we within this descending structure? First touch, second touch, third touch, we add some support. Fourth touch, doesn't really matter, but context, we're at support. Who do we expect to be at support? We expect buyers to be there at support. So naturally, so we are not looking to sell anywhere inside of here. On a 4 hour smaller time frame structure, we observe that, okay, cool, we're caught inside some chop. If we're caught inside some chop, because here price is moving sideways, all we did to simplify the chop was we asked ourselves, where's the extreme, the lowest point of our chop? There's our extreme low. Highest point of our chop, there's our extreme high. Now that we have a range, we look to buy from the low of the range. We look to sell from the high of the range. Since our higher time frame structure warrants us to be buyers higher time frame, we're only looking for bullish bias trading opportunities on a smaller time frame. So last week, obviously, we observed this smaller descent as well. On a 1 hour, you guys will see this descending structure coming into support. And obviously, we're expecting buyers to come into the market. Buyers came into the market, breaking this descending structure. Where do we see some nice momentum that has broken structure? I see a bullish engulfing candlestick over there, and I see that bullish engulfing leading to the break of this resistance area there. So obviously, where do I want to buy? Where other people were buying. So what I'm doing is we observed our support there. So I think, did we have? Yes, I think we did. Yeah, we did have this. We did have this low. Let me just check the date. Yes, there's Monday here. So Friday, Sunday, we did have this price action here. So we had equal lows and we had a POI. So our job was simple. We're waiting for price action to break these equal lows here and to give us something very clear. A reversal structure below the support that terminates in our POI, whether it's a double bottom, whether it's an inverse, whether it's a descending structure, doesn't matter. Anything that gives us a reason to buy where we expect to see buyers coming into the market. So obviously, Monday happened, we saw a pullback, price didn't come back and violate. Nonetheless, we saw a break of this resistance area up there. Cool. Let's speak about now what is our game plan. Since we see all of this nice development happening over here, the only game plan, or at least let's speak about what we see happening. Context. Let's always remember context. Where are we within the structure? We are close to the extreme high that we identified maybe last week or whenever it was. We want to be buyers because of the overall structure is descending. We expect the descending structure to break to the upside and maybe go to the 90% rule. So we see higher time frame, maybe risk reward ratios on the side of being a buyer. On a 4-hour, I'm at resistance. Makes no sense to me to be a seller. I do see a nice momentum shift inside of here that has broken a level of structure. But where is this momentum shift? This momentum shift is slap bang in the center of my range. You can see here's the high of my range, here's the low of my range. This POI is in the middle of my range. So obviously, if I want to trade inside of here, I should understand the probabilities that come with trading in the center of the range. I shouldn't be shocked if I get chopped around inside there. So what I want to do, the reason why I said in the beginning is that I'm still going to be trading where I want to trade last week is because I can still see I'm still inside the range. If I'm still inside the range, okay, as much as I'm still inside the range, we can still see that price action, yes, we are moving to the upside, but we're breaking resistance and we broke resistance, we closed above resistance, but we also broke and closed back below that resistance. So it means that, yes, we are making higher highs and higher lows, but we're still doing so in a corrective manner. If I look at this most recent structure and I can consider, and I look at, actually, let me say, if I look at everything, I can see that things are still moving to the downside. So overall, I mustn't be shocked if sellers are still in control here. So all I'm trying to say is I still want to trade in the direction or with the probabilities. And for me to be a buyer, in this case, best probabilities are at my support, at the low of my range, where this POI is that didn't get tapped last week. I'm going to wait for it to get tapped this week or next week or whichever other week, because it's the low of the range. It's the only place I can buy with good probabilities. Otherwise, you guys know that market is market. Buyers and sellers always get opportunities. You want to be a seller, there's a nice ascending structure, it's the high of the range, or whatever the case is. For me, I just don't trade against my higher time frame buyers. Higher time frame, or at least if I do trade against my higher time frame buyers, I understand the probabilities and the risk that I'm taking. I'll take a smaller risk if I'm looking to sell. Why? Maybe because I can understand that on a higher time frame from a daily, I'm expecting that daily, maybe weekly, maybe there's buyers that want to jump into this market. Those buyers can jump in at any point. I don't want to be involved on the wrong side of higher time frame buyers. So otherwise, yeah, cool. I'm going to exercise patience, wait for price action to come down to the support and rather wait to buy from the low. If you want to sell from this resistance, go ahead. Technical analysis will obviously give you the permission to do so. Let's go on to some New Zealand dollar yen. So I think New Zealand dollar yen, I'm still going to be very fast with New Zealand dollar yen because still nothing I'm doing on New Zealand. Personally, I'm not going to trade New Zealand dollar. If I wanted to trade a JPY code pair, maybe I'll trade AJ, maybe I'll trade Swiss yen. They are not stuck inside of this higher time frame range, extreme resistance, extreme support, and price has just been inside ever since. So chances of me being chopped up wherever are higher than chances of me maybe being chopped up on Swiss yen or whatever, because at least on Swiss yen, I understand that I'm at some sort of extreme high or resistance or higher time frame, daily, whatever. Inside of here, New Zealand dollar yen, I'm inside this big chop, and the safest area inside of the chop is maybe to trade at extreme highs and extreme lows. So last week we were obviously at the low over here. There was a buy for anyone that wanted to be a buyer. I'm not going to do anything. So Swiss yen, New Zealand dollar yen, I'm going to be very quick. I'm only probably going to trade New Zealand dollar yen, maybe if we come up to this resistance or to give a nice bad touch up here. Otherwise, I'm not interested in being involved in this high time frame chop. I don't want to lose money. My system, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like won't be profitable in this environment. So I'm just probably going to trade things with other things with better probabilities. So as usual, guys, since the Zoom session is going to end, we've got like 7 minutes left. Whatever is highlighted is an important pair for next week. Whatever we've left blank is a pair, yes, we're analyzing. We need to understand where our pairs are. And obviously, part of us doing analysis is for me to share the thought processes on how we get to these conclusions, to share the process, not so much whether I'm looking to buy or sell. That's not important. How I got to that conclusion is way more important than what I'm going to do next week. Because if you understand the process, then you can do it for yourself next week and the week after that and for however long, for infinity. So otherwise, we're going to just analyze these useless pairs like New Zealand dollar yen just so that we see the process. But otherwise, extreme, we're looking for that touch. So let's go on to the last pair, guys, US30. So for US30, I think, do we need to reference high time frame structure? Maybe we can just do it here on a 4-hour. So if we went up to a daily, what we just see is this nice expanding descending structure here. We've been using this for reference for a while, so I just left it there. Maybe it's not important, but I just left it there. Otherwise, if we just concentrate on what's just happening here in this most recent structure, we've got support. Cool. We've got price action, breaking below that support, breaking back above that support, obviously breaking back below that support, and we can clearly see we broke back above that support. So we understand that this price action was being corrective around a level of structure being support. So obviously we were looking for a corrective structure. We had no idea while the structure is forming, what type of corrective structure. We couldn't give it a name, descending structure, whatever. But we were able to trade and to make money because we were trading the way that we always trade. We don't care whether we can name the structure. We just identify, if I want to buy, where do probabilities align for me to perform that action? And then obviously you need to have a trading system. What will the market show you for you to be able to pull the trigger and say, yes, now I'm going to place that buy or place that sell. So obviously we're going to continue to do the exact same thing. Now at this point in time, we can say, oh, wow, this was a double bottom structure, because we can see sellers being in control, buyers coming into control for whatever reason at the support. We have no idea. Sellers coming back into control, buyers saying, oh no, we're still here. Obviously, we can see that the sellers weren't even able to break this previous low where the buyers came in. And then obviously, whoever the buyers were that jumped into this area at that support, we broke this resistance here where sellers sold from. So whoever sold from here, there's more buyers involved in this market right now than there were sellers, because obviously we just broke resistance. Now, looking at the overall structure, since we're seemingly trending to the upside now, things were a little bit confusing last week because we were at some sort of a resistance area. But obviously, on a smaller time frame, we can see that we are giving some sort of a continuation structure, some sort of an expanding structure. But nonetheless, maybe let's just stick to the 4-hour. Okay, no, let's go down to a 1 hour. Let's go down to a 1 hour. Just give me 1 second to just delete what's not relevant for us to continue going forward. Cool. Feel like I would even like to go down until 15 minutes. But let me just discuss. Let me not go lower than the 1 hour, just so that we always trading in the direction of higher time frame structure. So otherwise, we've got an expanding structure here. We've got a nice break above resistance, or whatever the case is. We see buyers are in control. Maybe I want to continue in whatever buying momentum is there, and I also want to be a buyer. So obviously, I can see that in this is momentum. This is the market moving. After the market moves, I expect the market to breathe eventually for the market to correct. Where do I want the market to correct to? I want the market to correct somewhere at some sort of level of structure, whether it's a previous support that the market has broken below and broken. The reason why I started here is because I want you guys to see that patience does pay. And even if I'm looking for a break and a retest, and I see a corrective structure here, and I get involved in this buy here, and my beautiful corrective structure, as much as I broke there, turns into something like this, where I even get another buy, maybe somewhere here, and it turns into something a little bit bigger and more complex. There will always be, as long as I'm trading in direction of high time frame structure and I understand who's in control, I'll always just be, my losses will be minimal. Because why? I'm not going to be trading every single buy. My buys are only going to be at specific areas of interest. And at those specific areas of interest, I need to see something, whether it's a double bottom, whether it's an inverse, whether it's a whatever. So chances that I'm going to take 10,000 losses are minimum. So otherwise, looking at this overall structure, first thing I want to point out is that our biggest opportunity for risk to reward ratio is at our previous support that we've broken below and have not retested. So if price action eventually comes back to this area, I'm definitely a buyer at that support. Now let's get back to our low probability trades, the trades that maybe our impatient selves are going to want to take, obviously because price is buying, we want to buy. For that, we'll go down to a 15-minute. On a 15-minute, just 15-minute looks absolutely nasty. Doesn't make things easier. But anyway, on a 15-minute, Jesus, there is absolutely nothing for me to do here on a 15-minute. Let me just say, there's a bullish engulfing here. I see a bunch of buyers coming into the market there. And since we can see this price looks like it's slowing down as we're moving to the upside. But anyway, I guess my first area of opportunity that price can present itself is at this area where I see other people buying. Maybe my second opportunity that will present itself is at this other support, because I know buyers came in at the support, and whoever these buyers were, they were able to break resistance. So that's maybe my second POI that I'm looking to trade at. Maybe my final POI, I can see that inside of here, there's a resistance on a 15-minute that obviously price action has broken above. Let me just delete this here. The price action has broken above where I can look to trade. So I want to be a buyer since I can clearly see higher time frame things are bullish bias momentum. The only places where I am willing to place those buys and to be a buyer are at these 3 POIs. So it minimizes the areas where I'm going to be looking to actively enter into this bullish momentum. So USD I'm bullish bias. I think this pair is still I'm definitely gonna be trading USD next week. So we'll keep the tag on. So guys, we've got less than a minute. I am 100% done with the analysis. We finished in record time. So just to recap, everything that is blue, we are looking to buy, or at least I'm looking to buy next week. We do have already done the analysis, so we know where we're looking to buy. Anything that's purple, we're looking to sell. So we know where we're looking to sell. Otherwise, let there be peace in the streets. Thanks for being prepared with me. And if you guys maybe caught this late or caught it in the middle, I am going to upload this on my personal YouTube channel. So just search T.Mayne on YouTube and you will find the full recording, and as well as other videos. So otherwise, cheers, guys.